A thunder of jets in an open sky, a streak of gray, and a cheerful...
A loop, a whirl, and a vertical climb, and once again you'll know it's time for the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and friends.
Starring that supersonic speedster, Rocket J. Squirrel, with his pal Bullwinkle the Moose, and a host of others.
Hurry, Bullwinkle! The show's about to start!
I'm coming as fast as I can.
Wave to the people!
Yay!
Now what are you doing?
Signing autographs. Let's see. John Smith.
But your name is Bullwinkle.
I know, but that's hard to spell.
We're gonna have a lot of fun. Come on and join us.
Sure, there's always room for one more.
Well, thousands are cheering our heroes again today because they're approaching Washington, piloting a mountain full of upsidasium, the anti-gravity metal. But there are those to whom the occasion brings no joy. One of them is Captain Peter Peachfuzz, head of G2.
This mountain was a perfectly good secret, and now everybody knows it.
Another is that crumb of crumbs, Boris Badenoff, who has just received orders from Mr. Big to blow up the mountain and himself with it.
Come, Badenoff, light the fuse. I haven't got all day.
But, bossman, how come I'm expendable?
You failed to get the obsidasium, Boris. Blowing yourself up is the only honorable thing to do.
You had better think fast, darling.
But, Mr. Big, old beloved master, if I go, you go.
What? You have a point there, Boris.
However, if you insist...
No. Put it out. Perhaps I was hasty, Boris.
You were almost hasty pudding, Chiefy Wiffy.
Very well, Badenoff. You may carry on.
Mr. Big is gone again, darling.
It's nice to know that under his sinister exterior beats a heart of pure chicken.
Meanwhile, Rocky had skillfully piloted Mount Flatten to a sheltered cove in the Atlantic coast.
Who are all those people, Rocky?
Lots of them are Washington senators, Bullwinkle.
Where's their baseball suits?
No, these are real senators. They can't play baseball.
I know. They got no pictures.
Well, of course, our boys got another chest full of decorations.
Yay!
And work started immediately on mining the mysterious metal upsidasium. It was a tough job, for every chunk of ore had to be weighted down so it wouldn't fall up and out of sight. Then the refined metal was taken into the government vault at Fort Knickknack, where it was kept under close guard.
What keeps it from falling up now, Rock?
Look, Bullwinkle, they got a big steel cover on top of the pile, and it's chained to the floor.
Halt! Who goes there, friend or foe?
Do we get a choice?
It's us, Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh, you're always welcome, Rocky.
We just came to see this here.
Just don't touch anything.
Boy, they're tough.
I'd just like to see anybody try to steal any of this stuff.
He'd have to be a criminal genius.
A criminal genius? Well, there's only one man we know who could fit that description.
Right you are.
And who is that, Boris?
You, of course, bossman.
Good. Now, listen carefully.
And Mr. Big outlined his plan to startle Boris.
Oh, not that, boss.
It's the only way, Boris. Now, go.
And so late that night, as Rocky and Bullwinkle slept, the stealthy figure crept into their room and made off with Rocky's helmet. A short time later, the guards at Fort Knickknack saw a familiar silhouette approaching them.
Oh, who's there?
Hocus smoke, fellas. It's just me, your old pal, Rocky Squirrel.
Oh, sure. Pass, Rocky. Now, there's something you don't see every day, Chauncey.
What's that, Edgar?
A mustache on a little squirrel.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe he fibs about his age.
Still, I wonder if he really is Rocky the Flying Squirrel.
And the guard started after the disguised Boris, but Boris heard him coming, and quickly seizing a small chunk of upsidasium, he tucked it into his coat. Then, lifted by the anti-gravity metal, he rose into the air right before the guard's eyes. And then, as the guard left, Boris quickly cut the alarm wires. Things were all set up for the biggest robbery in history.
Be sure to be with us next.
I'll tell them. Be with us next time for the Steel Hour or a Snitch in Time.
Once upon a time, there was a very beautiful but very lonely young maiden who, more than anything else, wanted to find a true love. She would pore through the Lonely Hearts mail-order catalog by the hour, but never with any luck. Day after day, she stood on a busy street corner where all the handsome young blades of the kingdom passed by sooner or later, but all they ever did was to pass, without giving her a second look. If this kept up, she might turn out to be an old maid. Could it be that a handsome young man would never ask her for a hand in marriage? What could be the trouble?
Good heavens, you don't suppose it's something my friends won't tell me? Well, maybe I'm putting on too much weight.
Well, she was relieved to see that weight was not her problem. She was still a dainty 165 pounds. Then she noticed her fortune on the back of the weight card, and what she saw set her heart a-twitter, for it said, "A wicked witch will put you to sleep with an evil spell. Then a handsome prince will awaken you with a kiss, and you will live happily ever after." She was overjoyed.
Oh, boy, a handsome prince. Just what I've always wanted. Oh, you nice machine. You've made me the happiest beauty in the world.
And with that, she dashed off to await the witch. She waited and waited and waited. 2 months later, she was still waiting, and the witch hadn't shown up.
That fortune card just can't be wrong. If the witch won't come to me, I'll go to the witch. I wonder which witch was supposed to do the job.
A short time later, she arrived at the house of a little witch who lived just outside of town and knocked on the door. Say that she rang the bell. Anyway, the witch answered.
Come in.
Where have you been?
Right in here, brewing away, honey. Pass the powdered bat, will you please? Now, very carefully, I add just a teeny-weeny pinch. Oh, drat, that's the third time this week I must be putting too much yeast in the darn stuff.
Never mind that. You were supposed to cast a spell on me.
I was? Oh, that's funny. There's nothing in my appointment book about it. What was I supposed to do, honey? Turn you into a toad?
No.
I got it a camel.
No. You were supposed to put me to sleep.
Sleep? Oh, say you must be Beauty.
That's right, Frances Beauty. And
land's sakes, I remember now. The assignment completely slipped my mind. Well, you just sit there, honey. I'll have you to sleep.
Now, here, silly. We gotta go out where the prince will be sure to find me.
Beauty hurried the witch off to the local park, and with no further delay...
Now, I lie here on the park bench, and you put me to sleep.
All right, child. Here we go. Prickly thorn, Morpheus horn. There, my dear, don't weep. I cast the spell right on your head, and you will sleep, sleep, sleep. You asleep, honey?
No.
Well, that's funny. I must have forgotten the spell. I'll try again.
And the little old witch tried every spell she could think of.
Rock-a-bye, Beauty, in the treetop.
But nothing she did could put Beauty to sleep.
Why don't you try counting bats, honey?
But it was too late, for just then the handsome prince was seen riding toward them on his gallant steed.
Now, don't worry, honey. I'll think of the right spell in a minute, dear. Now, just...
There's no time for that. Now the prince is coming. Out! He mustn't see you.
With no time left, Beauty did the only thing she could do on such short notice. She dove to the park bench and pretended she was asleep. And as the prince approached...
Good heavens! It sounds like a terrible beast in yon bushes. But I'm a brave young prince, so I will go in there and slash him and kill him until he's dead at least. And then I'll... Wait a minute. That isn't a beast, it's a beauty, and she sleeps. You are asleep, aren't you, ma'am?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I bet an evil witch has cast a spell on her. I will kiss her and wake her so we can live. Happily ever after, that is.
Oh, thank goodness. I thought you'd never get here.
Sweetie!
Darling!
Hold it, hold it.
What do you want?
I just remembered the spell that will put you to sleep. Ready?
No! I don't need that now!
And with that, Beauty fell to the ground, sound asleep.
See, I knew I'd...
But so did the prince.
Oops, I goofed. Well, if I'm not a little stinker. Well, they'll both be asleep for 100 years or more, so if you come back then, we'll finish the story for you. Right now, I've got an appointment with a fellow named Rip Van Winkle. Wonder if I'll have any trouble with him.
Today's lesson is mighty important, remember?
Bullwinkle is a...
Not that lesson. This lesson.
And here he is now, your dancing instructor, Mr. Know-It-All.
Ho, Chemo Sabers! Today our little seminar is entitled How to Be an Indian in One Easy Lesson, or You Can Be a Tonto Pronto. First, we'll start with the uniform. As you can see, the well-dressed Indian almost isn't. Here's the latest thing for rich Indians.
Bullwinkle, what's that dragon behind you?
That's the cord, Rock. Haven't you seen an electric Indian blanket? Next, we have the headdress.
What kind of Indian would wear that?
A Cleveland Indian, naturally. Now, the chief wears a big bonnet of eagle feathers. Must be for the super chief. The Indian brave wears one eagle feather like so, and the not-so-brave wears one of these.
What's that, Bullwinkle?
A chicken feather, of course. Here, Rocky, I got a headdress for you.
Well, what does that make me, Bullwinkle?
You now honorary paleface. Indians don't have a weather bureau, so they make their own rain by having rain dances like this. May I cut in? They call this the Cherokee cha-cha-cha. Indians communicate by using smoke signals like this.
What does it say?
Says, put out that fire. Signed, Smokey the Bear. The Indian diet consists mainly of cornmeal, buffalo steak, moose meat, fish, and... Moose meat?
Well, thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
Don't thank me! Just send the cavalry!
Peabody here. Today, Sherman and I are going back to the year 64 A.D. to visit with one of history's most renowned violinists.
Jack Benny?
No, that would be 39 A.D., Sherman. Our illustrious fiddler was none other than the Emperor of Rome, Nero. We set the Wayback Controls, and before you could say quo vadis, we were standing on the steps of Nero's palace.
I smell smoke, Mr. Peabody.
Oh, that is a bad sign, Sherman, because according to history books, Nero is responsible for setting fire to Rome.
Idiots, what do you think you're doing?
We just put the fire out, Emperor.
You mean you just put the barbecue out? What's more, you've made my steak soggy. Out, get out!
We thought it was a fire, Mr. Nero.
Well, it wasn't. I can't stand fires, yet everyone blames them on me. Oh, dear, there's another one.
In the far corner, the Emperor's throne was raging out of control.
Quick! You get some water and I'll get my violin.
Sherman and I soon had the fire under control. As for Nero, do you always do that?
Do what?
Fiddle during a fire.
Oh, yes, that's quite a quirk with me. As soon as I smell smoke, I have to play. Would you like to hear Laura?
What does it all mean, Mr. Peabody?
Well, there has to be a motive behind these fires, Sherman. Now, who would stand to profit by them?
Goodwill?
No, I'd say Nero's violin teacher. As long as there are fires, Nero fiddles. And as long as he fiddles, he takes lessons, or should. We left the palace and headed for the only music teacher in town, a certain Oddpus Rex.
Is that the violin you're making for Nero, boss?
It is, and this one will guarantee a big fire.
How so?
You see the bow? Well, actually, it's a large match. All Nero has to do is strike it on the strings, and there'll be a hot time in the old town tonight. Now, get out of sight. Here come two customers.
Mr. Oddpuss Rex?
You wish the boy to take violin lessons?
No, sir. We came here to advise you to stop playing with fire.
Oh, then you know.
Everything. Unless you leave Rome and promise to give up arson, we'll turn you over to Nero.
I was about to do just that. In fact, behind this door are my overnight bags. I'm leaving Rome on the next train.
Of course, we didn't believe him and decided to look in the back room. There were no overnight bags.
True, but you'll never get out to tell anyone.
It was a trap.
Not only for us, for Oddpuss Rex's henchmen as well.
He told me to duck out of sight, so I ducked in here. When that big fire starts, we'll be caught.
He told us of the diabolical violin, and I knew we had to return to the palace immediately. Here, play this fiddle, Sherman.
But I can't play, Mr. Peabody.
I know that. It was a fearful 5 minutes we spent chained to Sherman's concert, but it brought results. The citizens in the neighborhood also resented Sherman's music.
Get out of here!
Arriving at the palace, we discovered that Nero was about to give a concert.
For my first number, I should like to play a Jerry Mulligan arrangement.
If he strikes that bow, the palace will go up in flames.
I grabbed a pull cord on the curtain and flew across the stage. En route, I plucked the match bow from the unsuspecting soloist.
Good work, Mr. Peabody.
It was good, but unfortunately, Oddpuss Rex was just as air-minded as I. He, too, flew across the stage, but he replaced the match bow, and before I could make a return flight, Nero had burst into song, and the fiddle burst into flame, and we had a disaster in the making.
I'm afraid it's curtains, Mr. Peabody.
Well, that gave me an idea. I examined the stage curtains, and there was the word I was looking for, asbestos. I merely pulled a knot, and the curtain descended on Nero's performance. As for Oddpuss Rex, this didn't stop him. He dashed about the building, giving everyone he saw a hot foot. Luckily, the last person he gave a hot foot to was the chief of police.
Thank you, Citizen Peabody, for saving the palace. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have to start a barbecue in the middle of the city. And, oh, this one is going to be big, big, big.
Rome was no place to be in at this moment. We decided to embark for home, but not before we took a unique little violin as a memento of our visit.
That's a funny-looking violin.
Funny-looking, but priceless. This was made by a man named Strada. As you can see, he made various types of instruments.
Is that why they call it a Stradivarius, Mr. Peabody?
That's why, Sherman.
Our story opens today in, of all places, the Up in Arms, a Washington hotel. That figure lying peacefully in a hotel bed is our hero, Rocky. You will notice that he's wearing a nightcap instead of his usual flying helmet, and for a very good reason. The helmet was stolen by Boris Badenov, who then proceeded to the Upsidasium warehouse at Fort Knick-Knack, disguised as...
Hokey smoke, fellas. It's me, Rocky, Flying Squirrel.
Sure, go on in, Rocky.
Yes, disguised as Rocky, Boris penetrated directly to the room containing the nation's entire supply of Upsidasium. Then he cut the alarm wires and opened the rear window.
Ahoy out there, you swamps.
Boris, what means the Navy talk?
Means coast is clear.
Once inside, the two spies were soon joined by the sinister shadow of that criminal mastermind, Mr. Big.
Well, there is Upsidasium, Mr. Big. My plan is working perfect.
Your plan, Boris?
Sorry, bossman. I meant your plan.
That's better.
And look outside. Got fleet of trucks.
Then let's get started.
Okay, boss. Let's go.
You don't understand, Boris. When I say we, I mean you.
That figures. Come on, Natasha.
Well, the villain's plan was nearly foolproof, all right. They've made only one little mistake. They forgot that Upsidasium falls up.
Oop.
Boris, let go of it.
Mr. Big, looks like your plan is washout.
My plan, Boris?
I was forgetting. My plan.
Meanwhile, back in his hotel room, we find our boy Rocky wide awake.
Oh, dear.
What's the matter, Rock?
I can't sleep, Bullwinkle.
Well, small wonder your eyes are open.
No, it's all those lights outside. I need a pair of dark glasses.
Why don't you paint your goggles black and...
Hey, that's a great idea, Bullwinkle. Uh-oh, I can't.
No paint?
No goggles, they're gone. Somebody must have stolen them to look like me, Bullwinkle.
But who wants to look like you? No offense, Rock.
I don't know, but I bet it has something to do with that upsidasium. Come on.
And so, clad in their night clothes, our heroes dashed off toward Fort Knick-Knack. At the fort itself, Boris had come up with a cunning plan.
What you going to do with those magnets, darling?
Watch, Natasha. Floor is metal, no?
Is metal, yes.
As I strap magnets to shoes, they hold me to floor. Obsidian can't pull me up.
Sure enough, Boris was now able to handle the fabulous metal and busily trotted back and forth, loading the trucks which backed up outside the window. Of course, these magnets were very powerful, as the soldiers in the room below the storeroom found out.
You seen my helmet, Chauncey? Oh, thanks.
Now, where's my rifle, Edgar? I had it right. Oh, there it is.
But at that moment, Natasha and Boris entered the room, followed by the bemetaled General Broadbean.
But I tell you, it isn't me. It's somebody else up there, General.
Fantastic! This place is a military oop!
Is that anything like a civilian oop?
Something's going on up there, Bullwinkle. Let's go!
The old man's up in the air again, eh, Chauncey?
Yes, Edgar, and this time he really hit the ceiling.
Of course, as soon as Boris moved, the general made a rapid descent.
The guard! Call out the guard! Too late, you miserable military men. Boris Bedenov strikes again.
Why, Boris, that's a poem.
Now Bedenov will quickly flee.
So why we don't go?
Can't think of a rhyme for flee.
I've got one. Be with us next time when we see Verse and Worse or Crime Without Rhyme.
Well, it looks as if our time has just about run out.
Just enough left to tell him who the sponsor was.
You got the credits, Bullwinkle?
All on this itty-bitty card. Oop.
We're late again, Bullwinkle.
Right.
Bye now. See you next time.
A thunder of jets in an open sky, a streak of gray, and a cheerful... A loop, a whirl, and a vertical climb, and once again, you'll know it's time for the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends. Starring that supersonic speedster, Rocket J. Squirrel, with his pal Bullwinkle the Moose, and a host of others.
Hurry, Bullwinkle. The show's about to start.
I'm coming as fast as I can.
Wave to the people.
Yay!
Now what are you doing?
Signing autographs. Let's see. John Smith.
But your name is Bullwinkle.
I know, but that's hard to spell.
We're gonna have a lot of fun. Come on and join us.
Sure, there's always room for one more.
Well, in our perennial battle between good and evil, it seemed that last time evil in the form of Boris Badenov would score an upset victory. For Boris, disguised as Rocky himself, was determined to steal the nation's entire supply of upsidasium, the anti-gravity metal.
Boris, darling, the whole thing?
Of course, Natasha. Remember our motto: if it's worth stealing at all, steal it all.
And with the help of the magnets fastened to his shoes, Boris proceeded to do just that. He carried bar after bar of upsidasium to a rear window and loaded them into a fleet of trucks waiting outside.
But how do we keep people from getting curious about trucks?
Look at Neyman trucks.
Clover Blossom Skunk Farms.
See? Nobody will come within miles of us.
Oh, that's very good, Badenov. Very good indeed.
Thank you, Mr. Big.
Yes, I'm glad I thought of it.
Quick, darling, someone's coming.
Sure enough, at that moment, Rocky and Bullwinkle were dashing toward the storeroom, followed by General Broadbean himself.
What we do, darling?
Truck is just outside. Quick, jump in.
And the two spies leaped through the open window.
Well, darling, here am I, and there are you, but where is truck?
They're not here.
I know where they're not, darling. Tell me where there are.
Yes, Boris, tell us both.
Mr. Big, beloved superior.
Did you fall too, darling?
Look at this lump on my head.
On you, it looks good.
What was that?
Yeah, of course, Mr. Big. On you, anything looks good.
Meanwhile, back in the storeroom...
Rocky, look at all that upsidasium. It's gone.
And whoever took it didn't leave a clue.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, General. Looky there.
Sure enough, open by the window where Boris had dropped it in his haste was a crumpled flying helmet.
Have either of you seen this before?
I don't know. Could I take it out in the light?
You don't have to, Bullwinkle. It's mine.
And just how do you explain that hat being found at the scene of the crime?
Well, I just looked up and there it was.
Not you, you. Are you being smart, Moose?
I don't know. There's the first time for everything.
Guards! All right, Squirrel. For somebody so short, you'll have some tall explaining to do.
Boris, they think that poor little squirrel did it.
Yes.
They'll send him to jail.
Yes.
Maybe for life.
Or longer.
And the really funny thing is...
Yes, yes?
You stole it yourself. Where is it, Boris?
Yeah, I don't know, Mr. Big. Cross my heart. Double cross my heart.
But Boris wasn't the only one answering questions. A short distance away, Rocky was undergoing a severe grilling.
Somebody took my helmet out of my room.
And I say you stole the upsidasium.
And he ought to know, Rock, he was with you the whole time.
That's right, he was.
I was?
I haven't left your sight since I got here.
So if Rocky did it, you must have did it too.
Well, that puts a different light on it.
You mean you're letting me go?
No, I'm putting myself under arrest. Come along, me.
Hey, wait, General.
What for? Somebody stole it.
He's right, Rock. That stuff wouldn't just disappear into thin air.
Hey, that's it, Bullwinkle.
Sure, I knew it was. What?
It disappeared into thin air. Look there.
Sure enough, there, 100 feet above Fort Knick-Knack and drifting higher and higher with each passing moment, were 10 trucks loaded with a precious cargo of upsidasium.
We gotta do something, Rock.
Yeah, but what?
Well, couldn't we at least wave bye-bye?
Well, so the world's supply of upsidasium is on the way to outer space. Don't miss our next episode, Truck Drivers in the Sky, or Follow the Fleet.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
But that trick never worked.
This time for sure. Presto! Well, I'm getting close.
And now it's time for another special feature.
Once upon a time, there was a beautiful, beautiful queen.
Flatterer.
She was lovely, but the wickedest woman in the world, a fiend in human form.
Well, nobody's perfect.
Each morning, she would go to her mirror for advice. It was a very special mirror. It gave not only advice, but also music, news, the weather, and stock reports.
Amalgamated dragon, off an eighth. Fairy godmother common, up a quarter.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is fairest of them all?
The fairest of them all is Snow White.
Snow White. Oh, that is disappointing. Now I'll have to do away with her.
And the Queen went to the office of the Witch Pack Company, of which she was the owner.
Let's see now. Witch Pack poison prunes, Witch Pack poison strawberries, Witch Pack sleeping death apples. That's it! I'll give her the $4.95 apple assortment.
But at that very moment, Snow White was hard at work in her office.
Consolidated Dwarf, Snow White speaking. Right. 27 Dwarfs, North Pole. Right away. Thank you, Mr. Claus. All right, you. Let's try it again. Way down upon the Swanee River.
I just can't do it, boss. I'm not a child star. I'm a dwarf.
Yeah, but child stars make a fortune.
Look, I'm 47 years old. I got a wife and 3 kids in Kansas City.
With those curls, who's gonna know? Get to the studio right away.
Okay, boss.
And don't forget to shave. Come in. Seems I can hardly keep the little beggars in stock these days.
Are you Snow White?
Right. How many do you want?
How many what?
Dwarfs, of course. Let's see. 27 to the North Pole, at least 7. 7 dwarfs is all I have left.
I don't want any dwarfs.
Well, we discontinued our giant line, you know. Too much overhead.
No. I just brought you a little gift from the Witch Pack Company.
Apples. My, they are tasty.
Yes, eat one and you'll just die for more.
Well, if you ship prepaid, I'll take...
Now we'll see who's fairest of them all.
And the Queen dashed off, leaving Snow White in a state of sleeping death.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is fairest of them all?
Don't you want the word on local news?
No.
How about the weather, your favorite waltz?
Come on now, who's the fairest?
Like I told you, Snow White.
What?
But you're the prettiest.
But you just said...
I said Snow White was the fairest. She never lies, cheats, or steals. Now, what could be fairer than that?
Oh, my. I've made a terrible mistake.
And now the latest in stock market quotations. Minnesota mowed down. Drawbridge Company up. Consolidated Dwarf.
Yes.
Down 500 points.
500 points? Then I'm wiped out. I'm destroyed.
Yes. By putting Snow White to sleep, the wicked Queen had ruined a company in which she was the major stockholder.
All because I used witchcraft. Well, I'll never use it again. Never, never, never!
And with that, the Queen got rid of the entire stock.
Now to wake up Snow White and get Consolidated Dwarf back on its feet. Let's see. Powdered bat toenails, 2 cups spider venom. No more witchcraft. For those who have sworn off witchcraft, get 1 prince to kiss the victim. A prince! That's it!
In a few moments, the Queen was in the prince's chambers.
Kiss a victim of sleeping death. Well, let's see what the rate is.
Rate?
Oh, yes. You see, we charming princes have to make a living, you know. Let's see. That'll be 2 million gold grickles.
Too much.
I can hold her hand for 1 million.
No, you have to kiss her.
Then it's 2 million. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
Wait, I'll get my bag. These house calls are such a nuisance.
In a little while, the prince was at Snow White's door.
Where's the lady of the house, my little man?
Over there.
I won't be a minute.
What kept you? I've been lying here for hours.
Cool it. She fell for it. We're rich.
Oh, where am I?
Hooray! Now my stock will go up. Thanks ever so, Your Highness.
It was nothing.
Nothing.
Well, ta-ta. I've got to go hear the ball game on my mirror.
Well, here comes the happy ending. The Queen was a better woman for having given up witchcraft, Consolidated Dwarf was back in business, and the Prince and Snow White were rich.
Let's see the money, honey.
Oh, well, there isn't any. I used it to make a sensational deal.
Like what?
I bought 5,000 shares of a new company called Witch Pack. Here, have some apricots. I just ate all the apples.
Look, Bullwinkle, a message in a bottle.
Fan mail from some flounder?
No, this is what I really call a message. Time for Bullwinkle's Corner.
Hi, culture lovers. Today's poem is a stirring saga of forest conservation. Woodman, spare that tree. Woodman, spare that tree. touch not a single bough.
Hello, kiddo.
In youth it sheltered me, and I'll protect it. Hey, what you doing with that axe?
What else? I'm shaving.
Oh, that old familiar tree that...
Timber!
Now, hold on. That old familiar tree, whose glory and renown are spread o'er land and sea. And wouldst thou hew it down?
You said it, Buster.
Old tree, the storm still brave, and woodman, leave the spot. While I thy hand to save, thy axe shall hurt it not. Well, that's gratitude for you.
And now it's time...
Time for that jolly juggler, Bullwinkle.
Oh, dear.
3 at once. 1, 2...
And now here's a feature you're sure to like.
3...
Hello again. Peabody, Sherman, and Wayback here. Today we shall be on hand for that historic moment when man first swam the English Channel. Sherman?
Yes, Mr. Peabody.
Set the way back for the coast of England.
And the date?
August 24th, 1875. A fateful day in the life of Captain Matthew Clift. It took but a fraction of a second for the Wayback Machine to transport us to our destination, and there, on a strip of sandy beach, stood the athletic-looking Captain Clift.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks ever so much for coming down to see me off.
And with that, he dived into the sea. But not for long. Rising to his feet, the good captain threw a game smile at his well-wishers and endeavored to try again. But with the same results.
Gad, that's the most obstinate water I've ever run into. Or out of.
What seems to be the trouble, Captain?
I don't know. I dive in, but I never stay there.
It was then I noticed his body was generously coated with grease.
I wear the grease to keep out the chill of the sea.
Yes, but you have so much on that you keep slipping out of the water. We scraped the excess grease off, and this time the captain's attempt was successful. Or at least it seemed to be.
Help!
He's in trouble, Mr. Peabody.
I thought he would be. In a flash, we launched a small dinghy and were soon at the captain's side.
What's wrong, Captain?
I'm afraid I can't make it.
Why not?
Well, there are 3 reasons. 1, the channel is 19 miles wide, a rather large distance. And 2, the water is frightfully cold.
What's the third reason?
I can't swim.
We hauled the struggling athlete aboard and bundled him in a warm blanket.
I know what you're thinking. I was a fool to even attempt it.
Why did you?
Well, the plumbing's gone bad at home. I haven't had a bath in a week.
Would you try it again if you could swim?
Why, yes, I suppose so.
Swell. Then Mr. Peabody will teach you.
We started out with the dog paddle, naturally, and after that the Australian crawl. By 3 that afternoon, Captain Clift was thoroughly amphibious.
How do you feel, Captain?
Well, outside of a little water on the knee, I feel absolutely wizard.
And so saying, Captain Matthew Clift struck out for the coast of France, 19 miles away. I thought it best that Sherman and I accompany him, and a good thing we did, too. For when he was halfway across, the fog closed in.
These are terrible conditions for the captain.
Oh, I don't know. Being English, I rather imagine he feels quite at home in the fog.
Listen, Mr. Peabody. Waves crashing on the beach. He did it. He's made it to shore.
Captain Clift had made it to shore, all right. Unfortunately, when the fog dissipated the next morning, it wasn't the French shore, but the English.
Good heavens! Do you mean to say we're back where we started from?
I'm afraid so. You see, you must have got turned round in the fog, and we merely followed your course.
I see. Well, cheerio, chaps. I'm off to bed.
Wait, Captain, you can't give up now.
Why not? This seems like a glorious time to give up.
Sherman is right, you know. How would it look for a Britisher to not conquer the English Channel?
I don't care how it looks. I'm going home and brew some tea.
The word tea gave me a sudden idea. Quick, Sherman, fetch a tea bag and a fishing pole while I detain the captain. Like a shot, Sherman was off, and shortly thereafter returned with what I had requested.
Are you going to try to catch fish, Mr. Peabody?
No, not fish, Sherman. An Englishman. I dangled the tea bag in front of the good captain, and true to his upbringing, the tantalizing aspect of tea drove him wild.
By Jove, I must have that.
Then swim for it. With Sherman at the oars, we led the captain a merry chase, a chase that spanned 19 miles. Yes, at dawn the following day, Captain Matthew Clift staggered out of the sea onto a Finch shore, in his hands a rather soggy tea bag.
A pot! My kingdom for a pot!
What a tremendous feat, Mr. Peabody. He swam the English Channel.
Yes, he did, Chairman.
But he sure looks awful. Think he'll be all right?
Oh, I'm sure of it. It's merely a slight case of exhaustion.
But look how white he is.
Well, it's fortunate that he is. Otherwise, England might be minus one of her famous landmarks.
Captain Clift, a landmark?
Why, of course, Sherman. He comes from Dover, you know, and surely you've heard of the White Cliffs of Dover? Hmm?
Last time, you remember, Boris had stolen the world's supply of upsidasium and loaded it into a fleet of trucks. But he forgot that upsidasium falls up, and the whole fleet was soon floating skywards.
You didn't tell me they were going by air, Boris.
I didn't know myself.
You mean you can't get them back?
Of course, Mr. Big. Just takes a little while, is all.
How long?
How about 20 years?
You won't be around that long, Boris.
Oh, boy.
But our heroes have also spotted the floating trucks.
Look, General Broadbeam, there goes the upsidasium now.
Then all is lost. We're outflanked. We'll never get it back.
Don't despair, General. We'll think of something.
We generally do. You get it, Rock? I said...
There's only one thing to do, Bullwinkle.
Yeah, you see, he's a general...
I'm going to try to round up those trucks.
Boy, try to make a joke around here. Round them up?
But you can't. They'll be out of sight in a few minutes.
Then we gotta hurry. Come on.
Where are we headed for?
The Fort Knick-Knack Missile Base.
And in a few minutes, Rocky was explaining his idea to the chief engineer of the missile division.
So you see, if one of your missiles can boost me up in the air, maybe I can get the upsidasium back.
Impossible. Orders state we can carry nose cones only.
Then I guess my idea's a washout.
Yeah, unless you happen to be a nose cone.
Bullwinkle, that's it. Come on.
Where are we dashing to?
To General Broadbeam's office.
A few moments later, our heroes again stood before the missile chief.
I already told you, no squirrels on missiles.
Yeah, but I'm not a squirrel. Look at my orders.
The general's appointed you a nose cone, first class. Okay, man, take it away.
And Rocky was hoisted 9 stories into the air to the top of a huge missile.
Now clear the range. Prepare to fire. Mr. Moose, will you give the countdown?
10, 9, 8,
Try 7.
Oh, yeah. 7, 6,
Hurry, Bullwinkle.
Rocky, it's hard enough for me to count frontwards.
Yeah, but the trucks are flying away.
Then I'll do it my way. Ready or not, here you go.
And the huge missile began to rise slowly, then faster and still faster, while Rocky clung to the very top of it. On the ground, huge U.S. radar screens tracked the flight of the missile, but they weren't the only ones, for at a secret base in another country...
Well, they're sending up great big missile, Theodore.
Don't matter, Nicky. Ours are bigger.
They got no shape nose cone.
Ours got better shape.
Nose cone is shaped like squirrel.
Like squirrel? Well, back to the old drawing board.
Meanwhile, back at the fort, some stunning news came from the tower.
General Broadbeam, the missile is not responding to our signals.
Impossible.
See for yourself.
Sure enough, the sensitive instruments showed that Rocky's missile was swinging more and more out of line.
It's off course.
Where's it headed?
According to this chart, it's headed right for Washington.
Then we must destroy it.
Destroy it?
But my buddy's on that thing.
Don't you understand? He's headed straight for the White House.
You really think he can carry the farm vote?
So we have to push this button.
But as the general's finger neared the destroy button, voices were raised in protest.
No.
You mustn't.
Please.
Stop. Go ahead and push.
Boris Badenov. So that's who has fouled up the missile mission.
Well?
Be sure to be with us next time for The Squirrel Next Door or High Neighbor.